All right, hey, we just want to let you know that we did up on Facebook. So now I'm gonna start streaming here in just a bit. 1 second.
Is it streaming to your page or your personal page?
My business page.
This is a Chucky Beat production.
Yo, what's up, and welcome everybody to the show. My name is Frank Salas, and I go by the name The Talented Mr. Salas here on social media. I have an awesome interview with us today. This is Mr. Pete Scott. He is from London, England, from all the way across the world. And as you guys know, I'm here in Medellin, Colombia. And this show is for people who are marketing agency owners, or you are entrepreneurs who handle your own marketing. Or maybe you're in some kind of marketing department. We're going to show you how to grow your business, how to grow your sales, how to grow your dollars, how to grow your profit and revenue. And today we're talking about sales, but marketing and sales are like cousins. They're like closely related. You cannot have sales without marketing, and you can't have marketing without sales. Marketing is what gets you leads. Sales is what gets you cash. You can't get cash without getting leads. So today we're going to focus on getting cash. So if you like cash, go ahead and like this, subscribe, leave a comment. If you have a question, go ahead and write a comment down. But without further ado, I'm going to introduce today's guest. His name is Mr. Pete Scott. Pete Scott from Pete Scott Sales. What's up, man?
What is up, Frank? It's a pleasure to be here as well. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show. Yeah, I'm excited, my friend. I know we only connected recently, but at the same time, I like your energy and just the way you followed up with me, which is what sales is all about as well. So like I say, I'm excited to be here to share some tips and strategies of things that really work in the sales arena. And like you say, sales is the cousin of marketing. The amount of companies I work with, and they got their marketing down, but it's actually closing the sales and winning the customers as well.
Boom, boom. So we had some great conversation before we got the show up and running, and you're doing some great moves online. You're helping a lot of people, and you've got a great community. We're going to educate people on how to, get close to you and get connected with you. But, talk to us a little bit about like your philosophy on sales. What does sales mean to you?
Yeah, sales is everything. without sales, you don't have a business. And I meet a lot of passionate people who, they love their product or service, and they want to tell you everything about it. But when it comes down to actually selling it, it doesn't matter if they have the best solution in the world. If they don't have the ability to have a great sales conversation, or know exactly the methodology that works for them so they can close a sale well and get a yes from the client or customer, then unfortunately their dream never becomes a reality. So my philosophy is a couple of things. Number one is knowing that you have to prioritize sales in your business. And that means the human to human aspect. And Frank, I know you're a marketing guru or expert. And like you say, you can bring 1,000 leads to your business every single week. The question that I want to ask everybody who's watching this now is, what are you doing with those leads once you get them? Are you maximizing them? Are you able to identify who is going to be a long-term client or customer for your business? Who can you help in the most easy and successful way? With selling, it comes down to prioritizing it. Then number two, in sales, you get what you want, you get what you practice. And selling is like any other skill. You want to get good at tennis, you can't learn it in the classroom. You've got to get out there and actually work with a coach, work on your serve, work on your footwork, all of those things. In sales, it's the same thing. Work on those things every day until you find out what works for you.
I dig it, man. I dig it. So a lot of people are scared about sales. Why?
A lack of practice. Well, yeah, there's a number of reasons. Number one is that we've been raised, and this is the same all over the world. When I speak to people and say, "What do you feel like when you think of a salesperson?" and our association with a salesperson is that 1990s or 1980s like car salesperson with the big briefcase and the big collars and fast talking. But actually, in 2018, in the current market, that's what sales isn't. It's not what sales is. Sales today is about having empathy, about being able to step into the mind of your client or customer, or your prospect, and to really understand, where's it that they want to go? How can I help them to get there? What problem are they having that actually they're looking for a solution for? But at the same time, because we have this negative association with selling, we get caught up. A quick example here is that I was delivering a training program for a client of mine, and one of the guys there had been in a sales role for 12 years. And when I asked him to draw a salesperson, he drew that negative association of a salesperson. And I said to him, "Are you struggling to reach your targets?" And he said, "Yeah, I am." I said, "But you want to sell successfully, right?" And he said, "Yeah, I do." And I said, "But when you visualize a salesperson, you visualize something negative, but you still want to get results." So we create this conflict in our mind. And it's like, I want to be successful at selling, but I don't want to become that person that I visualize a salesperson to be. But the good news is that's actually what you don't want. You want to be able to serve your client. Selling is serving at the end of the day. You're really just helping your client to make the right decision. So that's the main thing I would say.
I love it. So we're talking about sales with Mr. Pete Scott from Pete Scott Sales here on social media. And sales is just the most important thing about business, because without money, you can't grow. And a lot of people focus their time not doing sales. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, 100%. So we talked about this briefly, I know, before we went live. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. Selling is the one thing that we need the most, but it's also the one thing we avoid the most. And unfortunately, with that avoidance, what we end up doing is sales procrastination. And basically what that means is that instead of selling, instead of picking up the phone, following up with our prospects, doing exactly, Frank, what you did to follow up with me, because I didn't reply on your first message, you followed up in a really positive way. And so yeah, it is about doing those one-on-one things, actually saying, right, I need to follow up. I need to do those things. Sorry, what's your question again? I need to go back. So I was going to end myself.
Yeah, no, man. I just really wanted to know, and I forgot the question as well, but we're talking about sales and what's stopping people from going to the next step. Like, there's a lot of people, they know that they should sell, but instead of selling, they go do other stuff.
Yes, I'm with you, yeah. And this is what happens when you're traveling all the time. You get jet lag and you forget the last question. So the main thing that happens is that people end up with this sales procrastination. So instead of selling, they end up working on their website, or they end up saying, I need a better logo, and putting effort into areas that are not revenue generating activities. And if you're watching or listening right now, write this down: revenue generating activities. And then ask yourself, what have you done in the last 3 days that have been revenue producing activities? Because I promise you this, there is always business, and more business under our nose than what we'd even care to dream of. There is so much business out there. And if we just kind of get back to go, hold on a second, I know that I want to do these creative things, work on my long-term vision, but actually right now, there's low-hanging fruit. There's business everywhere. And if I just picked up the phone and did the basics, then, I can turn my results around.
Man, I dig that. And that's just so powerful in itself, because if you just take the action, you get a result. And I want to break down a few things that you said. You said, we're talking about the RGA, revenue generating activities. So with RGA, that's like what makes you money. Like tying your shoes doesn't make you money. Sending invoices, or making invoices doesn't make you money. Confirming your appointments, that doesn't make you money. But having sales conversations, doing follow-ups, having those personal touches, those kinds of things make you money. And everything is a sale. I had to sell Pete to come on my show and be like, yo, dude, I got these peeps that need to hear your swag, bro.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's great to be here as well.
So a lot of people think just because they sell, they're like, oh, I made a sales call and I'm taking the action, but I'm not seeing the result. And because of this, I'm doing a lot of action. I'm not seeing the results that I want, and I get frustrated. Because I get frustrated, I start doing things that I shouldn't do to make me feel good in the moment, but then long term, I feel like crap. Like, I know I should make those follow-up calls, but I'm going to jump on the Xbox for like 5 hours, or I'm going to go run around the city for the rest of the afternoon and have a coffee or something, or just do other stuff I shouldn't be doing.
Oh, yeah.
So talk to us about that. How can people just stay consistent with sales and get the right kind of results?
Yeah, a good question. And I think one of the things we can do immediately is detach from the outcome. Most people believe that in selling that, and I made this mistake when I first moved to London like 8 years ago. I remember I made like 20 sales calls in one day because I knew that was what I had to do to make meetings and therefore to generate revenue. And I had a pretty good day on the phone. I didn't know what I was doing. Picked up the phone and I managed meetings out the calls. And then I was like, hey, what a great day. Let me go and get a beer, because I got 2 meetings. And then what happened was that I became all about those 2 prospects. And I even remember calling my mum back then and being like, hey, mum, I've got these potential 2 clients that I'm going to take on. And the next 2 months, it was all about those two potential meetings. And yeah, sure, I got a little bit of business from one of those. But the truth is that, in sales, it is about, whenever I say detach from the outcome, that really means don't get caught up in the highs or the lows. You've got to have that kind of middle ground. And you can be hyped and you can be, you need a lot of motivation, hell of a lot of motivation. But actually, if you made a sale, if you got a meeting, great. You need to get onto the next call, because you want to put that in the bank, detach from it, have that ability to detach from it, and go get yourself another 10 meetings. So that's number one, is not getting caught up with the highs. People, and I'm guilty of that as well. But also on the flip side of it is getting caught up when you have a bad day and you don't get any meetings with like calls, or maybe you're doing sales meetings and they all go terribly. So don't get caught up in those, but use them. This is number 2. You have to have that commitment to being better every single day. And it is that personal development side of it. And asking yourself, because there are things that you do in a sales conversation that really work for you. But if you never actually reflect and say, hold on a second, that sales conversation that I had with Frank, in that conversation, what led closer to the sale? What got him thinking that, I'm moving from maybe to a yes, or a no to a maybe? And it's really important that you think like an athlete. After every single basketball game or a football game, an athlete will sit with his coach or her coach, and they will watch the film of the game. And they'll say, you know what, you did this really, really well. Let's do this some more. Or this could be better. So let's improve on this area. And by having that commitment to continual improvement, inevitably you will improve overall. I started my business properly by making 2,223 calls in a month. And the way that I did that was that I just committed and said, I will make 100 calls a day, and I will learn from every single call that I make. Every single call is a chance, an opportunity to learn. Learn what I do well and do more of it, and learn what I do badly and minimize and eliminate that. And within about it didn't take long, within about 80 calls, I would say, I had a pretty good script down for myself. Not that I believe in scripts, but it's a pretty good kind of format. And I kept increasing my call conversion. And that's what I suggest to anybody. Just keep reflecting, and don't get too caught up on, if you win a deal, great, well done, but carry on. But if you have a bad day, you know what? You've got to dust it off and carry on as well.
Man, you said so many gems in there, and I hope anybody listening to this just goes back and re-listens to that extremely slowly, just breaks it down step by step and takes it in. I want to maybe just double down and really cement some of those points that you brought up. So you said that every time that you get a deal, or every time you meet with the client, you're like a pro athlete. You're like, how can I get my ball or our team's goal, or get close to that goal? How can we score a touchdown? How can we get a basket? How can we get a goal? How can we make that happen? And it's every time. And that's how I do things. I do a lot of B2B, and a lot of people who watch this are in the marketing space. So it's B2B. It's a longer sales cycle. It's typically 30 days to 6 months sometimes, but on average 30 30 to 90 days is our sales cycles in social media marketing. So, and it works like this. You meet a business owner, you start the relationship, then you kind of see what their needs are, you listen, you ask the right questions, and then you listen. And I like how you said that you don't have a script, because if I'm just like a salesperson in an organization, I try not to have a script. On the flip side, if I'm scaling an organization, I need to have a script, because we need to have a protocol to make that work. It's got to be the same interaction and same experience over and over again. I want to find out more about why you don't like scripts. Tell me more about that.
I believe that scripts, and for me personally, like I say, I don't want to follow a script. I want to identify what works and what doesn't work. And but again, I want people to realize that wherever they're at right now, they need they need to be tight in what they do, but they also need to be able to flex and adapt. And if you're just going by a script, you're dealing with human beings here. And yes, human behavior is somewhat predictable, but on the phone, you need to be able to respond, not react. You want to be able to respond to anything that comes up. And that's why I'm a much bigger believer in being principle-based as opposed to technique-based. A script is a technique. So Frank, I can use a technique with you right now, or I can follow a script with you right now if we're in a sales conversation, but that may work 3 times out of 10. But the other, 7, 8 times out of 10, it may just, like, the script needs to go out the window completely. And I prefer, rather than to, and this is why I talk about practice, because if you're an athlete and, it's talking about being a sales athlete and you're going out on the court, you need to know that, hey, this player that I'm going against, they're going to play in a completely different way to the one that I played yesterday. So that's why, for me, as far as scripts overall, I want people to be so well practiced. And I always say this, people ask me this a lot as well. They say, Pete, what's the definition of like a great salesperson? And I always say the same thing. A great salesperson is the person who can who today can be selling one thing and doing it successfully, and shift to a completely different industry, maybe go from B to C to B to B, and still equally succeed. And you can't do that with scripts. You have to be in a position where you are a great sales professional overall. However, if you are, I have a few people now working for me, and they do sales calls, and it's like 101 stuff, and I'm like, you need to follow this exact script because I just need a desired outcome. So, for example, we're running an event tomorrow. We did follow-up calls for all the people coming to the event. We have an amazing girl who works for us called Leanne. We're like, Leanne, just ask these 7 questions. That's it. So it's also knowing when a script is required.
I dig it. And I'm just, you're picking up a lot of experience, a lot of professionalism that you have from somebody who is a true professional here. And my duty is to get all the gems from his brains, man. So now we worked on people's mindset a little bit, but let's give them some actionable techniques. I want to touch on that though, because you brought up something that I thought was great. So there's tactics and there's techniques, and then there's strategy and methodology, and principles. If you have strong principles, strong strategy, and strong methodology, all the tactics and techniques, those are little arsenals. Those are like specific like putters or clubs in your golf set when you're at the golf course. If you want to go hit it really far, use this close or use this lead generation thing. So, just really want to double down on that. So I want to dip into your bag of tricks real quick, and I want to talk about your objection handlings. The number one objection that everybody gets is, I'm going to think about it. What do you say?
Yeah, well, the reason why somebody says they need to think about it is because you didn't give them time to think about it during the conversation with you, with reality. And so my principle behind this, by the way, is that you need to know in advance what your top 2 to 3 objections are in your business. Now, let's bear this in mind. If you're selling a product or service, you should be having sales conversations every day. If not, at least every week. You should be having 2, 3, 5, 10 meetings, or at least having 100 calls a week. And if you're on Facebook, if you're selling through social media, you're having constant sales conversations. But at the end of the day, it's about embedding the objection into your actual sales. If I was selling to you whatever product it is, but it's a high-end product, I'll say, Frank, obviously you've come to, I'm assuming you've come to me because of the fact that you're a man who wants to invest properly in himself. And so moving forward, before I show you a solution, are you comfortable that this is going to be something that won't be a £100 solution? Will that be okay? So then you're like, yeah, of course, that's fine. So I've already dealt with. But this is the reality. If the sales professional, and by the way, if you're an entrepreneur, if you sell any product or service, you are a sales professional. That's the reality. But as a sales professional, if you come up with the objection before your client or customer, you have power. However, if your client or customer, if they come up with the objection, that's actually, I'm going to say it, that's your fault. You should have come up with it beforehand, and you should know the objections because you're doing this. You're the expert. Your client or customer, they're looking to you as, as someone who's an authority, like, oh, you know more about this than me, right? And unless you're selling something for like under $100, I'll buy something for under $100 because I don't need the person I'm buying from to be amazing at what they do. I just need the solution, right? But I would imagine most people watching this right now, they're selling products, solutions that might be tens of thousands, if not millions of dollars. So, when that person is trusting you with $10,000 or 100 grand, you should know the objection they will have before they have it. However, if you get to a point where they come up with a rejection, you think, you know what, I didn't see that one coming. The best thing you can do is to stop for a moment and bring that person back to the original reason why they called you or why they're having a meeting with you in the first place. That's all you can do.
I dig it. There's just literally so many gems in there that you just need to listen to this again, man. So let's actually give some people some actionable things, something that they could add into their game. So for example, whenever I'm on a sales call, and I got this from Grant Cardone, I'm in a few of his programs. One of the things that I use every single time is I say, have you seen enough to make a decision? Because sometimes we just want to keep selling and selling and selling, but they're like, yeah, I'm ready to buy. You just say, oh, have you seen enough to make a decision? So I say that all the time. And then another thing that I say that I also got from Mr. Grant Cardone is there any reason why you would not do this? So I asked that one, and then they tell me their objections up front. They're like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And it's a very consultative, collaborative process. And there's a lot of things that I do before the sale to actually get to that point. But that's just some actionable nuggets that I wanted to leave everybody in the millennial marketers and the talent tribe that's watching this. So what kind of little nuggets can you add into our game so we can just get to that next step?
So many. Okay, so the first one I'm going to share, which is huge, is stop selling transactions, sell transformation. So think about the ultimate outcome that your client, in fact, ask that question. So Frank, I'm using you as an example because you're sat in front of me. Frank, tell me about the ultimate result that you want. That's the best question you can ask. Tell me the ultimate thing that you're looking for and let the person tell you. By the way, most salespeople try and sell with answers. You don't sell with answers, you sell with questions. And so that question of, tell me the ultimate goal, what you want. And then when that person tells you, then you say, okay, so tell me once you've reached that, what's going to happen? So then they'll tell you about, because if you just ask them for what they want, that'd be quite big picture about it. But as you're doing with me, Frank, you're asking me a question, but then you're like, okay, I want to drill down on that. So that's the next question. Once you've said to somebody, tell me where you want to be ultimately in 6 months. They tell you this and this and this. All right, so tell me what's going to happen once you've reached that. Then they're like, well, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, whatever it is. Okay, perfect. In that case, it sounds like you're pretty ready. It sounds like you're ready to move ahead with something. Are you at a stage where you're still interested, or are you actually ready if we find you the right solution? Man. And they're like, okay, I'm ready. Done. Now you've closed them before you've even gone into the sales conversation.
I dig it. And, just to even further go down that path, if I'm going down that tactic, another thing that I do is I want them to paint the picture. So in their brain, they can actually visualize what a successful world like that looks like. And then I ask them, what happens if you don't get that taken care of? So they paint the pretty, and then they paint the ugly. So they have the canvas, they have the brush, they're painting the pretty, they're painting the ugly. And I say, okay, we got the pretty and we got the ugly. Do you want the pretty or do you want the ugly? And they always choose the pretty. And that's because they painted it on their canvas in their favorite colors that make sense to them. And I gotta bring up something you said. You said sales happen when you ask questions. Man, that is gold. Exactly. Yep. That's how our job as salespeople is to help people make decisions and advance to the next step. So when someone's kind of on the fence and you can close them, And you and I know that closing people is a good thing. We help somebody make a decision, and we act in full ethics and integrity that it makes them more money or a better life experience. So when you're really leaning in on somebody to get them to, to the buying decision, what are some things that you say to them to get them there?
Well, you know what? If someone's still at the maybe stage and they're not biting my arm off to like, I want this, then I just turn around and say, listen, you came to me today because you want a solution. True or false? They're like, yeah, true. Okay, let me ask you something. How long has this been going on for? So now you go back to the problem. This thing that's not happening in your life or your business, how long has it been going on for? That for me is the biggest question you can ask. And the reason for it is this. Most people, they know the value of something, right? They get it. Like if I say to you right now, do you know what, Frank? I've got a $20,000 training program. You'll see the value. But the thing is, though, you're also seeing the pain of the money. You're like, oh, that's a lot of money to part with right now. So, let's say real estate. Okay, I'm not a real estate expert, but if I was selling real estate and I had someone that was being a little bit flaky about buying a property, I would say to them, how long have you been looking for one for? And they'd be like, oh, I've been looking for like a year now. And I'd say, okay, so are you prepared to look another year and come back to me in a year's time? Oh, no, definitely not. All right, so shall we get this agreement drawn up then? All right, let's do it. By getting people to realize how long they've struggled with something for is very powerful, because most people don't, they think immediately. It's that whole like primal brain, just immediate pain. But actually, when you get these people to realize that, or identify themselves that, hey, you know what, I've had this problem. Let me tell you something, Frank. I used to be a personal trainer. This is where I learned to do this, because I got a lot of people who needed personal training, but they didn't want it, right? And it drove me crazy, because I was meeting these people. I knew I could change it. I had somebody that I knew they'll be dead in a year if they didn't actually do something about their health. And I just turned around to this guy once, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not here to sell you this PT, because right now, I'll be honest, you need it more than I do. But at the end of the day, let me ask you something. How long has this been going on for? How long have you been out of shape for? How long have you struggled to walk up the stairs? He's like, the last 10 years. And I'm like, sir, are you even willing to let yourself walk out of here and have another 10 days of feeling like this, let alone another 10 years? And he's like, no. And I went, at the end of the day, it's your decision, but I'm going to tell you as it is. If you do nothing, nothing's going to change. So what are we going to do? And he's like, okay, sign me up. But that question is so powerful. How long? And this is for people who are flaky. You're trying to close them, but they're not sure. Oh, I need to speak to the wife, or I need to speak, I don't know, I need to think about, hold on a second. We've been through this 100 times. Let me just ask you this flat out. How long has this been a problem for? Get them to that, and that's, for me, the biggest tip I can give on this chat now.
Man, great stuff. And that stems from just really making them aware. As a salesperson, our duty is to let people know and give them like a realistic perspective of what's going on in their business life, their personal life, whatever they're coming to you for help. If they're coming to you, they have some kind of need, and our duty is to make them aware of what's going on. Say, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you're fat. And because you're fat, you don't have any dates. Do you want more dates?
Yeah.
And you got to lose your weight. And maybe somebody hasn't had the people around them to tell them that. And it's our duty to tell people that they have this, whether it's their weight, it's their financial health, whatever that looks like. So, man, just so many great things.
Yeah.
So I don't want to monopolize your time on it. We're going to wrap this up, but you have so many resources available to the public if they were just to get next to you. Tell us more about what it's like to be in your inner circle, to be around you, to follow you, all of that.
Well, the first thing that I'll say is that my inner circle is a group of incredible action takers who are entrepreneurs. Some people are in real estate. We have lawyers, we have doctors, we have speakers, every walk of life. But the one thing in common with everybody is that they understand this one thing, that sales is everything in their business. And the one thing that I've learned through teaching sales for over a decade is that with selling, you can't just learn it in one day. So everybody gets that, like, there's a daily thing behind it. How are we going to drive sales today? What are we going to do to make it happen? So what me and my team work very, very hard to do is to provide a space where everybody who is a part of that community, and I mean everybody, has ridiculous access to resources, courses, support within the community. We have a number of ambassadors within the community as well. So it's not just me. This is bigger than myself, because I started my business a number of years ago. I've worked with over 400 companies around the world, which was awesome. But it's a very lonely lifestyle, just going to companies, transforming their sales, got some amazing results. But now it is about helping people who have their heart attached to their business. They're out there making it happen every day. And it's just blown up in the last few months, especially. So we have the online academy, which Frank, I know you know about. That was launched just 3 weeks ago, but we have to this moment, we have 308 members, and it's growing rapidly every single day. I'm flying to Orlando on Sunday, and I'll be spending 10 days in Orlando, but I'll be running a 2-day event in Orlando. And so if you're in the US and you want to be a part of this, I'm doing this completely free. I believe the value of this event is thousands of dollars. But the result of what you can get from the event could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. I will be sharing everything. As you can tell, I'm an open book. And over that 2 days, I have no fear of sharing everything that I can. I can't share everything I know, but in those 2 days. And then from there, we have the online support and the community ready for you as well.
I dig it, man. I dig it. So you also have a Facebook group, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys here so you can see that. Just go to Facebook and look for Sales Accelerator Club. This is what it looks like. I'm about to send a request in, and look at that. You got less than 500 people in there now, which is perfect. Like, that's a great time, because at this moment of the group, people can get next to you, and they can. And actually, you know what? I'm blocked from joining groups until later today because I've been a naughty boy with Facebook. But then.
Overjoining.
Yeah, so
I done the same thing. But you got to hustle, right?
You got to hustle. But yeah, I like being in groups that are small because, you don't get spammed. You get direct access to the group leader. I can say, yo, Pete, I was working with a client that's at 7 figures. I'm trying to get them to 8 figures. I'm meeting with this person, the finance officer, this person, this person, and this person. Here's my strategy. Here's my agenda. What do you think? And you'll be like, oh, hey, Frank, how's it going? Oh, sure, blah, 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 here, do this. And it's like, oh my God, that's like literally worth thousands of dollars, and it's for free on a Facebook group, and you're just there as a resource. So definitely go check out my man, Pete Scott. Follow him everywhere at Pete Scott Sales. Send him a Facebook message on his Facebook page, Pete Scott Official, and then look him up on Facebook as well. So Pete Scott, if somebody is still scared after listening about sales, if they're still scared to sell, what would you tell that one person who's on the fence, who's like, okay, I see what these guys are talking about, I understand it, but I'm just scared, man?
I'll tell them 2 things. Number 1 is do whatever it takes to be in Orlando next weekend, 10th and 11th of March. You'll meet with me personally, and you can ask me every question that you have around your fear of selling. And my goal is this, that you move from fear to love. So, if you can learn to love selling, imagine how life would be different in your business. Imagine how many more clients you could serve. There's clients, there's people out there right now that that you could serve, and you could help them, help their business or help their life if you embraced selling. So that's the first thing. Do whatever it takes to be in Orlando. Even if you're not in the US, get a plane, fly out there, because I promise you, you're going to get far more than your plane ticket and hotel cost throughout those 2 days. But the second thing I would say is that embrace selling and start to learn selling every single day, and then practice what you learn. Practice on your husband or wife. Practice on your dog. Practice on your neighbor. Practice in your head. Run it over and over again. Keep a notepad close by all times and write down what works, what doesn't work. Believe it or not, and obsessive as this sounds, I've been doing this for my entire adult life, but guess what? After this Zoom call or after this live, I will, at some point later this evening or tomorrow, I will watch this entire thing back. And believe it or not because I'm a narcissist and I want to see myself speak, but I will look at it and go, hey, I really nailed that bit. That was good. How do I do more of that? Because, at the end of the day, Frank, you've kind of touched on this. We all have a responsibility that if you choose to sell a product or service, you have to choose to sell it incredibly. You have to choose to be great at selling, because otherwise in my view, it's kind of selfish, because we're actually saying, you know what, I've got this product or service, but Yes, it really sucks because I can't sell it. Well, you know what? Continue to improve on yourself. So for anybody who's scared of it right now, the only way to start eliminating that fear is to like just make sales everything in your business, because you can sell your way out of almost every problem in life and every problem in business. You know what? I had times a few years ago, I remember like 4 years ago, where I almost lost everything because I learned the sales side, but I didn't learn about controlling the spend side, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it and I was like, how do I get myself out of this mess that I've got myself in? And, you know, I had the debt collectors calling me, the knocks at my door, you know, and I was like, I'll just sell my way out of it. And so I got really focused. I built a new product. And, you know, the following month I did like £45,000. And it's like, how many people do I know that can go from nothing to forming out of the thin air a brand new product and then closing 45K worth of sales? That cleared all my debt in 1 month. Now, I'm not saying you're going to go out there and do 45K next month, but at the same time, wouldn't it be awesome if you learnt sales to a point where you never have fear in your life again when it comes to money? Because you know, ultimately, if what you're doing now doesn't work, and I don't wish that upon you, but if it didn't work out, you could say, you know what, the following week, I'm going to pick up a new product and I'm going to sell it like crazy. So make sales number one, and it is a life changer. It really is.
I dig it, man. I dig it. So we got a gift for you guys. This is a free 129-page guide of Pete Scott's 100 best sales tips. I twisted his arm and I was like, yo, dude, you got to show some love to my peeps. You got to hook them up. So if you go to bit.ly/TMS Scott, that's bit.ly/TMS Scott. It'll be in the link in the caption. There'll be a link in the show notes. Go to click that, and then for $0.00, courtesy of your boy, you are going to get 100 tips. And those are tactics, techniques that you can implement, add into your game, and do something new. So as always, I always want to leave you with this. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, those guys, every season, they were like, what am I going to add to my game this season to become better? I don't care if you're a pro, a starter, intermediate, or if you're in the Hall of Fame already. If you're still alive and if you're still in business, you got to add new stuff to your game. If you're not growing, you're dying. Sales solves all problems. I strongly encourage you guys to reach out to Pete. I strongly encourage you guys to look back at this entire video and just internalize a lot of these concepts. There's just innate swag that's being spewed through your ears right now, and you just gotta soak it up, baby. So check out my boy Pete Scott. Thank you so much for being on the show. My name's Frank Salas. I go by the name of Talented Mr. Salas. Hey, you got it, man. And shout out to my boy in London. All right, dude.